Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Olympic town of Lillehammer for the next stage of the Raw Air tournament, but also the concluding phase of the World Cup season, which of course has been led for month after month by Kamil Stoch of Poland, and really with Kamil Stoch's form being as good as it is, even with the occasional blip, it really is Kamil Stoch against the world. If we go back 24 hours to the qualification, the men who made the greatest impact, one of them, Robert Johansson, third best on the Lillehammer Hill, 131 meters, and that earning him 136.3 points towards the Raw Air total. Robert Johansson at the moment in currently second place in the Raw Air rankings, some 13 meters behind Kamil Stoch. Second best on the qualification hill on his birthday, Dawid Kubacki for Poland. He has had his fair share, some would say more than his fair share, poor luck in terms of conditions. That happened to him in Oslo. It also happened to him in the Olympics. But Kubacki still remaining a contender, retaining his shape and form. 131.5 meters, 136.4 points he added to his Raw Air score, but he's playing catch up after a problem and the poor conditions in Oslo. But this is the man who leads the way, Kamil Stoch, with a mighty 139.5 meters, absolutely superb. The turbulent weather, the loss of pressure, that was the hiccup in Oslo, and he only reached 119 meters, and that really brought the whole competition closer. But then with that massive amount of points yesterday and his second piece of glassware, 153.3 points compared to Johansson's 136.3, and he opened up his margin of advantage, as I said, over Johansson in second place by 23 points. That's about 13 meters. And in third place, Norway's Johan Andre Forfang, 47.6 points, and that is 26.5 meters. So the way it's going at the moment, the others have to keep hoping that Stoch has a hiccup now and then. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and a really welcome sight here in Lillehammer. The number of spectators who've come up here. This is, of course, a working day. Lots of kids from school have had a bit of time off, and the real good news is that we've got an atmosphere in this Olympic Hill and Olympic Stadium that hosted the Winter Olympics back in 1994, when on the big hill, Jens Weisflog of Germany beat Espen Bredesen of Norway into silver, Andy Goldberger into bronze, Takanabe Okabe was fourth, and Jani Soininen of Finland was fifth. And on the normal hill, Espen Bredesen won the gold from Lasse Ottesen, who now looks after the Nordic combiners. Dieter Thoma of Germany got the bronze medal ahead of Weisflog and Kasai in fifth place. Well, this is the next journey, or the next step on the journey in the Raw Air tournament. We've had 4 legs so far, and Kamil Stoch, as a result of yesterday's exceptional qualification, has now opened up his cushion of advantage to 13 meters over Norway's Robert Johansson. And Andy Vellinger there, well, his deficit now 43 meters, and he hasn't really got to grips with the Raw Air here. And there's Tom Hilda in his last competition in this World Cup tour, which takes Tom, well, all the way back. Tom Hilda, he started, what was it, back in, I think it was 1988 was it? But I'll check on that. But here, those who've qualified for today's competition, 50 from 14 countries on the big hill in Lillehammer, which has its unique calculation line at 123 meters. The hill record, a whopping 146 meters, set by Simi Aman back in December of 2009, and he one of several previous winners here on this big hill in Lillehammer. The most prolific, actually, Gregor Schlierenzau, who's been a winner here in the Lillehammer Arena on no less than 5 occasions, and is very much regaining his form. So the lineup there, Robert Johansson will be one of the men to really watch. And now conditions really good at the moment. Front wind in all directions, 1.5 meters per second, but of course that sunshine still creating positive thermic conditions on the hill. That might change though for the second round as the clock ticks towards 5 o'clock, and it's really good to see this number of spectators here in the Lillehammer Stadium. So here we go with Lillehammer, the second stop on the Raw Air Tour in this, the second season of this inventive competition, which is setting standards for all other organisers. And it is Sondre Ringen for Norway, 21 years of age, to get us underway. Favourable front wind conditions, gate 4 only. And sails over the calculation line. When that happens, that's a real adrenaline buzz. And what a start. 132 meters. Well, that is terrific. That's 9 meters of bonus points. Decent telemark landing. Got to get 17s, 18s in there. Terrific. What a high point for this young man who's had 3 Continental Cup podiums in his very and relatively short career. Here's his teammate, Robin Pedersen, same age, 21. He's also had 3 top 10 Continental Cup finishes this season. A little modest by his teammate standards, and Pedersen, as you can see, 2.5 meters to the good over the calculation line. The deduction, because of the favourable wind conditions, 14 points coming off Sondre Ringen's favourable wind conditions. Plenty of pressure under the skis for the aerodynamic wing. And that's an 11-point lead for young Sondre at the moment. Now Tom Hilda. Well, great that he qualified, and might he do enough here to squeeze himself into the final round. His best results in World Cup over the years: 4th place finish in 2008. That's the highest he ever finished for a season, although he was 5th a couple of years later. And 3 victories, 5 runners-up spots. 7 times he was in 3rd place in over 200 World Cup starts. And 3 World Championship team silver medals to go with the Olympic bronze he got in Vancouver with the Norwegian team. So Hilda in 2nd place. Nazarov for Russia. Hilda with 126 meters Just to reiterate, he never won here in Lillehammer, but it was where he really announced himself. He was third here in 2010, and I was sort of trying to bring to my memory when he really came of note, and that was really when we started to see Tom Hilder at his best. Right here in Lillehammer. I remember on that qualification evening where he came to note. So, Sebastian Colorado, his personal best achieved here, but back in 2006. That was when he was 8th on this very hill. And there are one or two coming up now who've achieved personal bests in more recent times. Colorado for Italy, coached by Lucas Krojcek, and 5th place. Only 30 as ever required to go through to the final and decisive points round. Points for World Cup, of course, but points for also the raw air. Andy Schuler, a season of progress for this 22-year-old. First ever World Cup points in Oslo last weekend when he was 29th. Didn't shatter the world, but it was a mini milestone for him. And 121.5 meters. This will disappoint him because he's 1.5 meters shy of the calculation line. The wind at the moment still from the front, but just softening a little bit at the moment. So Schuler, followed by Zagrawski, one of many former junior world champions. And Matthias Supan certainly has made the difference technically and in terms of confidence and timing and rhythm. Zagrawski looking as if he could well progress even further next season, but they're going to have to work very, very hard after the break at the end of the season for a bit of holiday, and then the fitness training has got to bring him back into absolute top form. They've got to make sure the materials are good as well. He's now in 2nd place at the moment. Jonty Leroy came back from the Olympics. Nicola Ball there, a coach who's been with him for much of his career. Just round about the calculation line, if you were with us over the past weekend, he had that monster leap of 133.5 meters in the first round on Holmenkollen. Really a big adrenaline rush, but maybe in a funny sort of way, that really distracted him from his 2nd round effort, which was, by his standards, I have to say most standards, poor. And difficult conditions though on Sunday for many an athlete, with turbulence and changing wind conditions. And Leroy into 4th place at the moment. David Siegel, junior world champion 2 seasons ago, and a gold medal with his German teammates. So seemingly reasonably satisfied with that performance. And good ripple of applause there for Andreas Vank, 130 meters. And that's what's possible on the hill in these conditions at this moment in time. Kornilov for Russia. Very untidy on the landing, and the marks reflect that, even though the distance puts him into contention. So 133.5 meters, and this competition really shaping up. Aschenwald for Austria, only 22 years of age, but 11th in Oslo, and that a personal best, and you can see the confidence he's taken from there in these conditions. And that virtual green line giving a real good guide there to where you've got to get get into the advantage, the lead at this particular moment in time. Well, this is turning out to be a very competitive round. Kevin Bickner, 125.5 meters, so he's clearly ahead of the calculation line. One or two apologies, our computers are playing up at the moment, so we've got no ranking, but hopefully that'll return very soon. And we're back in business now. So Philipp Aschenwald leading from Andreas Vank, Mackenzie Boyd-Klaus. Apologies for not giving him the credit that he deserved for his 131-meter effort. And Yukiya Sato, a little bit out and in, or in and out in terms of performances. Can do better and will need to do better if he qualifies. 27th in Oslo, but has been as good as 10th this season in Villingen. Now the junior world champion from Norway. This season's victory in Kandersteg in Switzerland. Gate number 4, and a big roar from the Norwegian crowd there. 129 meters. This is very much a man for the future. A personal best of 8th in Zakopane, and he was just outside the top 20 in Holmenkollen, but he leads the Continental Cup rankings. Has jumped here in the past, finished just outside the top 30 some, what would it be, 3 years ago, but that was more opportunity to be part of the national group. And now the more experienced Slovenian from Kran, and that's Desmond. His form, I have to say, has been patchy. Looked more promising just before the Olympics, but since then, I'm afraid he's not been the most consistent. But 128 meters, and at the moment, Aschenwald leading from Andreas Vank, who rides in 2nd place in the Continental Cup rankings. And Desmond, 128 meters, and into the top 6. And the top 6 at the moment separated by just about 5 points, so 3 meters or so. So pretty tight, as we see Jakub Volny, another former junior world champion. Volny steady throughout the season. And that's the sort of performance that he can put in. And learning his trade under the tutorship of Stefan Horngacher. And this is really nice in terms of style. This is going to get really good marks. Over 130 meters, a 132 leader. And Jakub Volny. Gregor Deschwanden from Switzerland is going to have to go some to match or better that. In fact, quite a lot may have to do just that. And certainly these conditions are giving every opportunity for these athletes to show their best, and that's where Deschwanden has really let himself down. Well, Gregor Schlierenzauer, bib number 21, and 5 times a winner here, 128 meters. Probably still not in terms of perhaps fitness and power, not back to the sort of heady days that earned him so many of those 53 victories. 5 of them here, but 4th place for Schlierenzauer. That puts him again within 5 points of the current leader, Jakub Volny from Aschenwald of Austria, Poland, Austria, Andreas Vank, and then Schlierenzauer, Boyd Klaus for Canada, in 5th spot at the moment. And now Timmy Zeitz for Slovenia, who's been struggling recently. So Zeitz, that's A big deficit there, 108 points. That's like 15 points off the leader, and that's going to be a worry in terms of qualification. And now the qualification phase now begins in earnest. Volny and Aschenwald now confirmed as being through to the second round, and Takeuchi never been better than second, but he's been second here in the past, and Takeuchi failed to qualify in Oslo, but it's not been a season for any really high moments at all. 30 years of age now, the highest moment, or the most important, the birth of his second son. So Noriaki Kasai, third here back in 1997. Will he ever add to the 17 World Cup victories he's achieved in an illustrious career? Not this season. But never say never, I guess, because Kasai, 134 meters, and this is definitely one of his better efforts. Not quite sure why Peter Weise, the judge in the box E from Germany, has marked him down as low as 17.5. I think that's a bit poor. That'll get knocked out along with one of his 19s, but Noriaki Kasai to the top of the leaderboard, and that's 4 points over 2 meters clear of Jakob Volny. The wind deduction there was only 7 points, so that was a really good effort by Kasai. Timing was good, the rhythm was there for a change. Aigner, Austria, calculation line round about 123 meters. Noriaki Kasai, who was 8th in the inaugural Raw Air competition last season. So Kasai for Japan, Volny for Poland, Aschenwald for Austria, Vank for Germany, and Schlierenzau all through to the second round. And those 5 are separated by 9.5 points, which translates to just over 5 meters in distance. Ryoyo Kobayashi. Very good, and disappointment there for Sato. Well, he wasn't in contention anyway, but the disqualification of the suit is something that always disappoints. But it does just suggest that maybe he's lost a little bit too much weight, and therefore the tolerance of 3 centimeters in the main section of the body has been exceeded, and that's why he's been disqualified. That's only speculation on my part, but it will be something of that order. And now Tilen Bartol has really earned his position in the Slovenian top group. Sun just beginning to subside, and this is where things could become a little different. Once that wind disappears. At the moment, front wind, all 7 sectors straight up the wind, straight up the hill, 1 to 1.5 meters per second, and Japan first and second, 134 meters by Ryoyo Kobayashi, and only 1 point behind Kasai. Granerud. This is terrific here in Lillehammer. I can't remember, I suppose it was the Olympics where the massive crowd was here, but 134 meters from Granerud, showing that he may not be in the first flight of the Norwegian competitors, but he's not that far away, only 21 years of age, and the atmosphere for Lillehammer, tremendous. The best we've had, I can remember, forever and ever. 134 meters, and the crowd actually recognizing what the Norwegian ski jumpers have done throughout the season. And Granerud up into second place, splitting the two Japanese competitors. And now Mickey Hebeck, season's best in Oslo, third on the podium. So Hebeck, well, down to 24th place. That is not a qualifying position. And still 21 to come. And Maciej Kot, who failed to qualify in Oslo. Look at this, terrific. The spectators from all around, from Hamar and further afield. Now Kot needs to get a decent result this season. .126, and that sort of distance is going to keep him out of the top 10. It's not enough meters, and the style is okay, no major errors or blemishes, but 17, 17 and a half, 18, that's what I would imagine. And 13th place for Kot leaves him 13 meters or 7 meters behind at the moment. And there, the top 10, and it is at this moment in time only those 10 who are guaranteed a place in the decisive second round. And of course, if you don't make the cut, then your raw air points diminish, and the gap between you and those who might be going to the podium increases significantly. Well, there's the current leader, but I can tell you that with the sun going down behind and disappearing off the horizon, the conditions on the hill beginning to change. The straight headwind has now become a cross headwind, but there's just a hint of this turning into a backwind for the final 20. Tom Hilda's family and friends all here to wish him well in what will be his final competition. I don't believe he's going to go to Trondheim. Well, that's what we understand. And the wind now turning. Now you can see there, backwind coming in, just what I mentioned a few moments ago. And this is where things can change for the men who are ranked higher in the World Cup rankings than all who have preceded them. Anze Semenitz to go next now. Front wind returning, but Anze's form has been patchy at the least. And the winner of his one and only World Cup success in Zakopane. Just have a look at this as he goes off the table there. And the wind had definitely turned, not by any means as advantageous as it was for the early starters, so this could be interesting. There's the man who leads the way at the moment. Did I suggest that he wouldn't get another World Cup win? Well, here's a man who's won here twice. Simon Aman, 2007, 2010. Really quick over his skis. That's decent from Seaman Oman. Now it's only a question of how they see that touchdown. I thought that was okay. And so do the judges. 18's just one defector. 17.5 from Knut Burseth of Norway, but that will be discounted, and he's going to get an average of 18s, 129. The front wind deduction is, as you can see, they're only 2 meters, and that means that Simi is within 3.5 meters of the lead. Peter Preutz now. A forgettable flop in the first round in Holmenkollen. Saw him end up in 46th place. He's better than that. And that's what he can do, but can he do it twice? The runner-up here in 2015. $134.5 meters. Now, distance-wise, half a meter better than Kasai. Less deduction, first place. And he leads Noriaki Kasai by 3.9 points. That's 2 meters and 20 centimeters. Richard Freitag getting ready for his turn, not that far away. And now Stefan Laie. Laie, 7th in Oslo. That was encouraging. So 3-4 meters to the good, up to 130.5. The front wind has strengthened though, so he had a bit of an advantage. So he's going to lose 9.6 points. Equates to just over 5 meters. So that will compromise his position and distance. He's now 13, almost 14 points off Peter Preutz in the lead, and 14 points. Well, you're looking at a deficit of 7 3/4 going on 8 meters. So Karl Geiger just seems to have lost a little spark. He's still jumping at a very high level, but not as high as it was, particularly at the Olympic Games. But that's a little bit more like it. Certainly didn't get on with the Holmenkollen hill. Second, Lahti a couple of seasons ago remains his personal best in World Cup, and this is right up to Peter Preutz's distance. Again, a little more wind deduction there. Can't lead, but will be close. Third, and only 4 points off. So when I look at the leaderboard, the top 5, and that includes Kobayashi, are literally less than 3 meters separating them, and Hula trying to join them now. Front wind really strengthening for Hula. Could be a really long flight, and it is, and it really came for him there. That was a gift from the gods. But he'll pay for it, because he is going to lose the best part of 6 meters as a result, but accomplished 139.5 meters and 5 marks of 19 or better. So one of his best jumps of the season, wind assisted, but that's what you do when it comes in your favor, and he will lead. He surely will lead, and he leads by 4.5 points. Not as much as you might have imagined, but that's because of the front wind advantage that he had. And now from one Polish aspirant to another, Piotr Jewa, only top 20, 19th in Oslo. Disappointing. Not as far as Hula. Wind strength not as great, but the execution not as good as Hula. Hula's had 1 or 2 opportunities this season to try and achieve his first ever World Cup podium. He's been 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, very consistently performing and finishing in the top 10. but has had at least 3 opportunities when he could have converted to a podium place. Who knows, maybe today. Hula, Preots, Kasai, different looking leaderboard, and now Yerne Damian. Steady, but not earth-shattering. And that looked to be the wrong side of the calculation line. And there you can see a 1.5 meter deficit. Wind now, when it's dropped in strength, it's only about 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 meters per second. But having been a cross headwind, it is a cross headwind, but from the other side of the hill. It was on jumper's left, now it's coming from jumper's right. And backwind over the knoll for Andy Sternen. So technically this has got to be absolutely spot on. Sternen, 4th equal in the Raw Air Tourney rankings. Lillehammer giving the man from Trondheim a really good announcement there, and 134.5 meters by Andy Sternen. That's up there with Preots, and this could put him into 2nd place, I would think. If he's not 2nd, he surely must be 3rd, but he's close to the action. 2nd he is, and he's 3 points. In fact, just looking at it, just over 1.5 meters behind Hula. Poland, Norway, Slovenia at the moment, and now it's Anders Vandermel. Well, he won in Engelberg before Christmas, but since then, I'm afraid it's been a downward performance curve. And 127.5 meters is not bad, but it's going to leave him with a lot of work to do. Everybody in the top 14 has actually surpassed that distance. And there's 10 meters separating the top 14 at this particular moment in time. Vandermel 12 meters off, and now David Kubacki, runner-up in qualification, only to Camel Stock. Stefan Horngacker to confirm the green light. Front wind reasonably strong. If he gets the rhythm and the timing, and the takeoff is powerful from Kubacki. Oh, that's what he needed. This man deserves a turn of luck. He's had 2 podium finishes this season, but 1:39 puts him up there with Hula. So it's all about wind deduction, considerably less. 4 points less, that's 2 meters less for Kubacki. So you're looking at the new leader. 4 marks of 19 or better. Hula Star a fraction better than Kubacki, but the wind deduction being that much smaller. And Poland are 1 and 2. Kubacki from Hula, and still Stoch to come, of course. Junshiro Kobayashi with his younger brother Ryoyu in 7th equal place at the moment. And Ryoyu now looking a lot more relaxed. He seems to be in tune with the hill, and things are happening in a much better way for him. This is the sort of form that earned him his first ever World Cup victory back last November in Wisła. And the 2 brothers separated by only ½ meter, and for the first time in a while, Junshiro ahead of Ryoyu. into the top five. The top five now: Kubacki, Hula, Sternen, Preutz, Kubacki, Kobayashi, I mean, separated by 4 meters. Eisenbichler. Not far enough. 127 is going to put him down in the 20s in terms of position, and the star marks 17 and a half, 18 possibly, and he's just inside the top 20. But that is 21 points, almost 12 meters away from the top 3. Now, very important, Robert Johansson, a deficit of 13 meters to Camel Stock in the raw air. Still looking for that elusive first World Cup victory. Second last season in Innsbruck. Terrific Olympic Games, but this is the day-to-day business. This is the office for Robert Johansson. And these Norwegians have taken this team to their hearts like no previous team for an awful long time. And they've got years on their side. Johansson, okay, he's 27, Sternen is 29, but Forfang to come is 22, Tande is 24, and then you've got Lindvik in the wings as well. And Robert Johansson, 137. Small deduction, and into third place. He's within a couple of meters of Kubacki, just ahead of his teammate Sternen. They are separated by exactly a meter in Johansson's favor. And now Kraft, who says that this is one of his favorite hills, not least because they train here a lot, but then of course the Norwegians, this is like their home training center, Lillehammer. Kraft finding a little more consistency, certainly more rhythmical. His timing is better. His completions also are improving, reflected by those marks. And fourth place splits the two Norwegians. And now Kubacki, Hula, Johansson, Kraft, Sternen, and Peter Preutz in sixth place, separated by less than 4 meters. Boiling up nicely now, Johan Andre Forfang. Well, he didn't distinguish himself in the qualification yesterday. That cost him valuable raw air points. He's 26 meters behind Stock, and that's the same sort of distance as Robert Johansson. It's not as good as Robert Johansson, but that means he's not going to overtake Robert or possibly Kraft, fourth place. Indeed, and now Norway have got 3 of their elite team in the top 6 places. Werner Schuster for Andy Wellinger. 43 big meters down in the raw air accumulator. Well, to get back into this competition, which carries a bonus of 60,000 euros to the winner, 30,000 to the runner-up, 10,000 to the third, in addition to their everyday prize money in Swiss francs. Wellinger's going to have to start breaking some hill records, because although he's good, he's not being sufficiently excellent, if you understand my meaning, to eat significantly into the deficit, and that's his problem, and he's almost 6 meters down on the lead. And now the hero of Holmenkollen, for a Norwegian to win at Holmenkollen, it's incredibly special. 14 years between Jökulsøy and Tande until the weekend, and Tande, who sometimes isn't consistent, but at the moment is producing the goods when he needs to. Tande 30 meters behind, like Stefan Kraft, but I'll give you the raw air standings at the halfway stage after this first round. 2 to go. Richard Freitag, who is 44 meters behind, so that's quite a deficit. I can tell you that at the moment Johansson leads his teammate Forfang in the raw air by 24 points, 31 ahead of Kraft, 31 ahead of Tande. Back to the present. Freitag, just what he needed. Third here some 6 years ago. Tande was a runner-up here 2 years ago. And Forfang was third here, like Stefan Kraft. In Forfang's case, he was third here 3 years ago. And Kraft 2 years ago. But Freitag up into third place to give Germany an important presence on the leaderboard. He's only 1.4 meters behind Kubatski, who still leads. And now a change of gait for Kamil Stoch. This is interesting. This may release him with the power that he has. Tremendous confidence, stability on the in-run through the radius, and real zest and confidence. And even as he goes down to gate 3, which earns him 7.5 points of compensation, that's worth an extra 4 meters and 140.5. And it's not a hill record, but he's the first man to exceed 140 meters here. And once again, Kubatski looking good at the top of the table, and along comes his team captain, who eclipses him by 1.5 meters, but more than that, because he went down to gate 3 and finds himself with a whopping 14.4 points advantage. That's 8 meters advantage over Kubatski, his teammate, as you go into the second round. So Kubatski in second place, Hula third, 9 meters off, and then Freitag similarly 9 meters behind, Johansson 10 meters behind, Forfang 10 meters, Kraft 10 meters, Tande 11, Preutz 12, Kobayashi, that's Junshiro, 12 meters behind, Wellinger almost 14 behind, and Vandemel makes the cut. But sadly, Tom Hilde in his swan song will not appear in the final round. Well, we'll just gather together the raw air points and bring you right up to date when we return momentarily. Well, 5 minutes past the hour for the start of the second round. So 15 minutes in which to absorb what's just happened in the first round. The raw air was never designed to be like this. It was designed to be a really competitive competition. But such is the expertise, the domination, the force of Kamil Stoch, that I can tell you that Robert Johansson, who started the day in second place in the rankings, 30 13 meters behind, now 22 meters behind. Forfang now 36 meters behind, and Stefan Kraft 40 meters behind. So in 10th place at the halfway stage, Slovenia's Petar Preuc. Well, because of his miss in Oslo, not a contender. But one or two of these athletes are going to be thinking not so much about raw air, but just about winning the competition. The top 10 at the halfway stage, separated by 11.8 points. .8 points in terms of distance. We're talking about 6.5 meters, a little bit more than that. Andy Sternen from Trondheim in 9th place, 134.5 meters. And if you look at the top 10, it is quite remarkable. Daniel Andre Tande also producing an effort of well over 135 meters. Well, half a meter further, but the top 10, every single athlete over 134 meters. Well, I don't know what to say about Kamil Stoch. I mean, it's quite remarkable what he's achieving. In one sense, the others have got to come up and match him or defeat him, because the only other way they're going to get back into this competition is if he has a problem like he had in Oslo, which wasn't really of his making. Well, it wasn't the best jump, but equally when the pressure evaporated, he could only get to 119 meters. And if you follow Kamil Stoch, you'll know that even Kamil Stoch on a bad day, a bad jump isn't going to drop him in that short. Well, Alexander Sturkel, whatever happens this season in the raw air and ultimately Planica, it's been a super story and a super journey, and the Norwegians have really established themselves. But even with that, with Johansson at a real top effort, and I gather his mother Helga's in that audience there, and she'd be absolutely delighted, because this is very much a home hill for Robert Johansson. Richard Freitag. Have a look at the way he comes in, really hard landing, but the telemark is good. And I suppose what we ought to reflect on is perhaps one or two others who've done really well here today, and particularly Kasai. But let's just finish off this here. Hula. Well, he had everything in his favor, I have to say, but he took full advantage. And once again, these Polish fans rewarded. Hula in third place, and I wonder whether today's the day that he can capitalize. Much depends on the conditions for the second round. I can tell you that the wind is actually turning. That's predictable. It would turn into backwind as soon as the sunshine disappears on the hill, changing thermic conditions. But what about that for Kubacki? Well, Stefan Horngacker, what can you say? Look at this. Stock, Kubacki, Hula, a clean sweep at the top of the podium at the end of the first round, and Stock in just an absolute class of his own. And Stock just, he isn't just defending, I mean, he's just completely dismissing at the moment all of the world's best ski jumpers. And we maybe ought to be thinking about where he now sits these days in terms of all-time ski jumping performances. So Johansson, well, he was 23.5 points behind before this first round started. Now 41.6, that represents a deficit of 22 meters and 36 meters to Forfang, 40 to Kraft. And we're about 6 minutes away from the start of the final round. Well, here in Lillehammer, the clock just after 6 o'clock, the sun disappearing off the horizon, the wind conditions changing, but what a competition we have in prospect. The best crowd for ages and ages here in Lillehammer, out to see and enjoy, respect and applaud the Norwegian team, but they surely must also applaud the form of Camille Stock, who is the outstanding jumper of the moment at this Lillehammer renewal here in the Olympic Stadium, a stadium which has seen great champions over the years. But it's not only about the Polish boys who dominate at the halfway stage. If you're just joining us, it's Camille Stock leading his own teammate David Kubacki by 14 points, and then Stefan Hula in third place, 16.8 points back. In fact, the top 5 are separated by 10 meters, but most significantly, Camille Stock has got 8 clear meters ahead of Kubacki. And this is the order in which they're going to go. The 30 going in reverse order, who made the cut. And 21 meters separating Anders Vandermel at the halfway stage from Camille Stock. The man in 19th equal place, well, that's Tillen Bartol with Simon Arman. And those two are 18 meters behind Camille Stock. And then when you come to Peter Preuts, well, he's 12 meters behind Camille Stock. And Robert Johansson, all of 10 meters behind. And Kubacki, as I just said, 8 meters. But Poland, well, I wonder whether they can hold those positions and achieve an unprecedented clean sweep here in Lillehammer in leg 4 of the Raw Air Tourney. In fact, leg 5, I should say, after the qualification, team competition, and the Oslo competition and qualification yesterday here in Lillehammer. really great that this competition is in such good shape. And last year, the wind conditions forced the cancellation, so this is doubly enjoyable. Many previous winners are still in the lineup. Simon Oman, twice successful. Gregor Schlierenzau, 5 times successful. He's made the cut, and Austria's fortunes have been improving. Kraft is there, but one casualty. Mickey Heibeck, who was on the podium in Oslo, failed to make the cut. So in changing conditions, we're going up from gate 5 to gate 4 to gate 5, or if you're camel stock, up from gate 3 to gate 5, and that is totally understandable, because as the thermic conditions change and the sunshine disappears, and with it the heat, so the wind is turning into a backward position. There's still a breath of front wind over the knoll, but all other sectors are showing backwind arrows. And Anders van der Mel, once upon a time the ski flying record holder at 251.5 meters, but at the moment a shadow of his former self. So Norway get us underway. Second and decisive round here in Lillehammer. Gate 5, big cheer by the fans, and let's hope that this revival of enthusiasm carries on for many a year. Up to 123 meters Van der Mel, which is the calculation line, but no bonus points, just the 60 for touching down on the upper red line. It's all about points and positions for these early starters in the second round. Nets Desmond, who's more out than in at the moment in terms of form for Slovenia. Only 0.3 of an advantage over Van der Mel, but that's better, and he holds his ranking position. 123, and I think the star marks are going to be better than he got in the first round. Just looking at the wind deductions, because they're highly relevant. Backwind compensation, you'll see there in the, well, lime, plus 2.2, and Desmond stays ahead by about half a meter, so he extends it by a fraction. And now Sondre Ringen, wow, what a performance from him. 132 meters in the first round. A real adrenaline rush for this 21-year-old. And once again produces a worthy effort to earn his first ever World Cup points. And what a place to do it on home snow. Sondre, who's really up till now been noted for his Continental Cup podiums, and that's his own version of 3 cheers for himself, and why not? 126 meters, and he leads, so he can't be worse than, what shall I say, it can't be worse than 28, so he's got at least 3 World Cup points. The junior world champion also from Norway, Marius Lindvik. Well, another man peppering the calculation line, just the wrong side of it on this occasion. But interesting with Lindvik. Points in Oslo, points here in Lillehammer. All stepping stones to bigger and better things to come in the years ahead. Only 19. And Norway just loving the youngsters as much as their superstars from the Olympic Games. And now Eisenbichler needs something monstrous, a hill record. Well, a hill record would be 146.5 meters. It would be lovely, but most unlikely from Izzy. But that is an improvement. Eisenbichler, who's chasing Sondre Ringen, had an advantage over the youngster of about a meter. But this is over 130, so handsomely into first place at this particular moment, but kicking himself that he didn't produce that in the first round. That would have given him more heart and more spirit. But he might climb a bit. And next man to go is Mackenzie Boy-Close. Mackenzie with a decent 15th place finish in Oslo. So at the moment, towards the end of the season, finding a bit of form, but not then. Early off the table, and Mackenzie has rather let himself down there. Still third in the rankings, ahead of Desmond and Fannemeld and Lindvik, but that's only because of his cushion of advantage over those guys from the first round. And now Stefan Laie for Germany. He wants to take on Eisenbichler. Half a meter. That's his advantage from the first round. And Eisenbichler stays the better of the two Germans in this little battle. But stand by for the next man, Gregor Schlierenzauer. Schlierenzauer momentarily will have a half-meter advantage over Eisenbichler. Eisenbichler 132 meters, 250.6 points. And Schlery was winning here in 2007, 8, 10, 13, 14. Not back to that sort of form, but not a million miles away. But then, when you suggest he's going to tackle Eisenbichler, it really doesn't happen, and Schlierenzauer only third. Germany again now, Andreas Wank, another German duel between Eisenbichler and Andreas Wank. And Andreas's advantage, the same as Schlierenzauer's, half a meter. Wind conditions at the moment, backwind in all sectors, 1.1 meters per second. So very different conditions as to the majority of the first round. From gate number 5, launched up, and Andreas Wank, second in the Continental Cup rankings. You could have a look at this, look at his position, just climbs a little bit over the knoll. All of these performances so far underlining how important it is to deliver not once but twice. Eisenbichler for Germany from Sondre Ringen of Norway. Then Andreas Wank in third place. Schlierenzauer off the podium down in fourth. Stefan Laie in fifth. And now Austria's Philipp Aschenwald. A really good 11th, this 22-year-old Austrian in Oslo, a lifetime best, 6th in the Continental Cup rankings, led by Marius Lindvik. He's on a upward curve of form at the moment. But Eisenbichler continues to improve his position as Aschenwald misses out here. That horizontal line before the red line at 120 meters, and Aschenwald, only because he had an advantage over the likes of Eisenbichler, an advantage of 1.5 to 2 meters. That's the only reason he's up into second place. So Eisenbichler will be kicking himself that he didn't produce this sort of form in the first round. Still that little wobble on the landing to be ironed out, but now the next 10. Tilen Bartol from Slovenia will be the next to challenge Eisenbichler. His advantage over the German, 3 points. So 3.6 points is 2 meters. And this next group of 10 include Simon Oman, Volny for Poland, Zewa for Poland, Kobayashi for Japan, Granerud for Norway, Karl Geiger for Germany, along with Andy Wellinger and Noriaki Kasai and Junshiro Kobayashi. Up to gate number 6 in the more difficult conditions. So a deduction for the longer in-run. So 124.5. And the backwind compensation of 5.3 points that was coming Tilen's way completely cancelled out by the gate compensation, and that drops him down into 5th place. Next to go, Simon Oman. I wonder whether he can produce the power again off the table. 129 meters first time around for Simi, a 2-time Lillehammer champion. Well, that's good to see from Simi, I should say, 130.5 meters. And with his advantage over Eisenbichler, just having a look at the backwind, that compensation in adverse conditions helps him. Not as good a telemark as in the first round, but he should just scramble into first place. More than 250.6 points will get him there. Simi's confident. Eisenbichler, the writing's on the wall. Simi's good at maths. And he's there. Only by 0.7 of a point, only by 40 centimeters, but he's there. Switzerland with the advantage over Eisenbichler of Germany, Aschenwald of Austria 3rd, and now Volny. A really high quality effort in the first round. 19s across the board from the style judges. Well, the body language tells you how much he wanted that. And again, he was a little early off the table. And that's what often happens. And he's going to be a point down in terms of style from each of the judges, I would think. And that is 8 meters short of the first round. And he squeezes Aschenwald off the podium, but he'll be disappointed. Volny, though, perhaps just worth keeping in mind that Volny, he has a personal best of 15th in Innsbruck from earlier in the season. I wonder whether he might just manage a little higher ranking. Well, Jewa isn't going to get stellar marks for that. But 128.5 meters does help his cause. Taking on Aman, of course. And he had a meter's advantage. So that gets him a little bit closer, but just there. There by 1.5 points, 80 centimeters, and Jewa pushes Aman down to second, Eisenbichler to third. Tomoharu Yokokawa getting ready for Ryoyo Kobayashi. And Kobayashi and Kobayashi and Jewa, virtually the same points. But that was one of his really poor efforts. He just didn't seem to be with it at all. Let's have a look at this. And the timing was really awry. And this is going to drop him down the table. Jewa from Poland leading Aman and Eisenbichler. $15 to come. So now it's the turn of Halvor Egner Granerud. Granerud has been quietly making his own mark. Fifth is best of the current World Cup campaign. Quietly gets on with it, not much fuss, and takes on Jewa. Now the advantage that Granerud had over Piotr Jewa was about a meter. So here's 128.5 at the meter, that's 129.5. And that's a little better than Jewa, is it? I think so. And first place for Granerud. Norway once again on top there. Similar backwind compensation. Gate number 6 for Carl Geiger as well. And Geiger versus Granerud. Less than half a meter advantage. But Geiger certainly better than he was in Oslo over the past weekend. And very similar marks, very similar deductions. And has he done enough? This will be close between Granerud and Carl Geiger. And not Carl Geiger there, ahead of Granerud by 0.7 of a point, 40 centimeters. Now Noriaki Kasai. Well, you might say one of his best, if not his best, technical effort of the whole season in the first round. Can he match it? Can he improve on it? Given his desire to continue, now of course in his 46th year, needs a couple of results in the twilight zone of the season to give him a bit of confidence to go into the break and then spring training. But you can see he drops himself down to 6th place. Kasai, who was bronze medalist, 3rd place on the podium here in 1997. So Kasai to be followed by Andy Wellinger. Carl Geiger leading, so another German duel. Let battle commence, and the advantage that Wellinger has over Karl Geiger. Again, we're only talking half a meter. So much was geared towards the Olympics, and Wellinger certainly delivered in Pyeongchang. Olympic champion on the normal hill, 2 silver medals, large hill and team. But since he's come back, he's not delivered that sort of form. Goes into 3rd place on the podium, pushes Jaewa off, and now just 11 to come, and it's Junshiro Kobayashi now. All the Polish headliners beginning to make their final preparations, and Junshiro Kobayashi, well, this will be good if he can take the advantage with 10 to go. Needs 126 meters at least, and that's not there. So Karl Geiger leads with just 10 to go here in Lillehammer, and only 7th place. So the podium now, Germany leading. Karl Geiger from Halvor Egner Granerud of Norway. Wellinger 3rd, Jaewa is 4th, and Aman is 5th. Eisenbichler 6th. And remember, Eisenbichler started in position number 26, so that's a big gain by him. So as Karl Geiger takes the lead, now we look forward to the top 10. Now the top 10, though, are separated by 12 meters. Peter Preutz will be first to go. The top 5 separated by 10 meters. The top 2 separated by 8 meters. Kamil Stoch to go last with a seriously good cushion of advantage. But Poland occupying the top 3 places at the halfway stage. But it's Slovenia to get us underway. 134.5 meters in the first round. Definitely needs something of that order now to put 2 good efforts together here. Peter Preutz challenging Karl Geiger for the lead. He's got a 2-meter advantage. Geiger at 128.5 meters, but the reason that the target is set at 134 is because of the prevailing wind conditions, and a breath of front wind here for Peter Preutz. Can't see it on the computer. I still think it's more backwind than front wind, but that's much better. 2 good efforts of similar quality. 135, in fact, a little bit longer, and Slovenia's Peter Preutz takes the advantage. And that'll be a bit of cheer for him personally, and of course for Goran Janos. So Peter Preutz, runner-up here in 2015. One, 2, 3 marks of 19 there. Gate 6 still at this moment in time, and next to go, Andy Sternen. Just over half a meter is advantage, so the stakes are really high now. This is no quarter asked, no quarter given. Very strong backwind conditions. Disadvantageous for Sternen. All the more meritorious timing terrific, rhythm through the radius excellent, power off the table first class, and Starmark's holding this together really well. Now he is short of Peter Preos' distance, so it's all a question of deductions and compensation, but he's going to gain an extra couple of meters as a result of the backwind compensation coming his way. Half of it is cancelled out by the gate deduction, but you can see he's there. 272.5. He takes a 9.5 meter lead, and Norway are back in the advantage seat. Germany in third place with Carl Geiger, Granerud off the podium, and now Tande, Oslo's winner. 5th career win last Sunday in front of His Majesty King Harold. Not back-to-back victories here for Tande. Tande had the same opportunity as Sternen, but Sternen by far the better performer. Tande squeezes into third, gets Carl Geiger off the podium. So Norway 1, Slovenia 2, Norway 3, then Geiger, Granerud in 5th, Wellinger 6th, Shewa 7th, Aman 8th, Eisenbichler 9th, Kobayashi, that's Junshiro in 10th place. Heinz Kudin now for Stefan Kraft. Stefan Kraft, who was 3rd here in 2016. 2nd, of course, in Oslo over the past weekend, his season's best. But still, no Austrian has won this season. Well, Sternen has certainly set an interesting target here, because Kraft and Sternen were only separated again by a little more than a point, so no more than half a meter, and that means that Sternen marches on. It's a question of where Kraft is in challenging Peter Preutz. Tande is the vulnerable man in 3rd place, and 3rd place is where Kraft goes. So now Johan Andre Forfang, Norway versus Norway, a meter in his pocket advantage for Johan Andre. Needs a second flight blinder here. And that challenges Sternen. As I said, his advantage was only a meter, and that's not going to be enough, even with good style marks, even with less of a deduction, but in fact less backwind compensation. So Sternen climbing up now from 9th place, and has just taken 6th off his teammate Forfang. Forfang 2nd, Norway 1, Norway 2, Slovenia, Preutz 3rd. Preutz, who's had 1 podium this season, that's all. And now the turn of Robert Johansson. Still the closest pursuer to Camel Stock, but 10 meters behind the great man at the halfway stage of this competition in the accumulator that is raw air. So Robert on his home hill, family there to see him perform. This looks good, and it is. And that's a really good telemark landing, and that should get 9s, 19s. And it's got 19s. His mother Helga there watching on. 136.5 meters. He eclipses Sternen. And Norway are about to go 1, 2, 3. So Alexander Sturkel, time to rejoice here, because Robert Johansson, his Olympic gold and double bronze medalist, is the new leader, Johansson and Sternen. Johansson from Lillehammer, Sternen from Trondheim, Forfang from Tromsø. Petter Preuss off the podium in 4th place, and now there are 4. The only German challenger remaining is Richard Freitag, and then everybody else is from Poland. How about that? How about that from Richard Freitag? Never say never. 3 wins before Christmas, but 141.5 meters, and that eclipses by a meter Camille Stock's first round effort, but in very different conditions. No telemark landing. Now this is going to cost him 3 meters. His bottom doesn't touch the snow, so it's going to be 16.5s and 17s. And 141.5. 3rd place, and you see those 3 meters that he loses with the lack of the telemark. It's pushed Forfang off the podium, but Johansson and Sternen still prevail. And now Robert Johansson must wait for 3 Polish challenges. The first of them, Stefan Hula. Johansson's never won a competition in the World Cup, neither has Hula. Hula hasn't even been on the podium. His advantage over Robert Johansson, 1.2 points, 1.3 points, half a meter, so front wind is there at the moment. It was there for Freitag, and he took full advantage. A 7, nearly 8-point deduction for Freitag as a result of the favourable conditions. But that 8-point deduction plus the 6 points he lost without the telemark, 14 points, and that's why he's down in 3rd place. Although he is actually only just under 1.5 meters behind Johansson in 1st place. So Stefan Hula, now he needs to stay relaxed. That's the situation. The wind, at the moment, the front wind is returning. Hula had a front wind blast first time around. You've got to get over the knoll to really take advantage of the front wind at the moment at about 1.2 meters per second. All the time we're waiting, though, it's turning into backwind. Not quite sure here what Berek Sedlak's up to. Well, Norway and Poland have fought many a duel this season. Norway, the Olympic champions with the team gold. Poland, the team bronze medalist. Germany, the team silver medalists. Norway, the ski flying champions of the world. But Robert Johansson's probably realistic to know that the chances of holding off 3 Polish athletes pretty minimal, and it's all backwind now at the moment. Robert Johansson definitely deserves a podium out of this, but hey, who would deny Hula a 3rd place, a famous moment for him. Stefan Horngacher looking at the same computer pictures that I'm looking at. And Hula, he's been in this situation before. You can see the target over 135 meters. Hula holding it together. It's not 130 though, it's 129. And Hula's advantage over Johansson insufficient. Looking at Hula's advantage over Freitag, also insufficient to demote Freitag. And 7th place, yet another top 10 finish, but not a podium. So 2 to go, and Robert Johansson knows that he's on the World Cup podium. Robert Johansson, only his 2nd career World Cup podium, but now David Kubacki. Kubacki challenging Johansson. He's got a 2-meter advantage. Johansson 136.5, front wind. Advantageous for Kubacki. A lot of height, a lot of flight. And Kubacki never won a competition, but twice third this season, but 140.5, and eclipses Robert Johansson. Now I've just got to look at the differentials between deductions. 18.5 to 19, probably the star marks. It's going to be in that order. But he's going to lose 7 points, which is 4 meters. Off that 136, it's going to be awfully close. But he's there. He's there, Kubacki, ahead of Robert Johansson. Sternen in 3rd, Freitag off the podium. It's Poland, Norway, Norway. And now we know that it's going to be a Polish victory. That's a personal best for Kubacki. He's never been 2nd. And now from gate 6, we go down to gate number 5. So the gate deduction is eliminated for Kamil Stoch. And Kamil Stoch with an 8-meter advantage over David Kubacki from the first round, over 140 meters. And the man of the moment, the man of the month, the man of the season has done it again. And Kamil Stoch has rocked up to add a 28th career victory in World Cup to his roll of honor. And Kubacki, he just has to applaud, because the margin of victory, remember that Kubacki was 8 meters behind. Kamil Stoch has won this by 15 points, 15.4 points. And that translated is 8.5 meters. So he's actually increased his margin. But it's Poland, Poland, and Norway. Robert Johansson in 3rd place. Andy Sternen in 4th. Richard Freitag the best for Germany in 5th. Then Forfang for Norway. But it's all about Kamil Stoch, who at this moment is simply, after the 5th leg of the Raw Air Tournament, romping away with this 2nd edition of this innovative adventure that is Raw Air. And look at that there, the advantage over Kubacki. Look at the advantage over Johansson. And I'll give you 1 or 2 positions that are of note. Well, Kamil Stoch started the day 135 points actually ahead of Richard Freitag in the World Cup. That's extended now, and Tande was in 3rd place. Let's have a look at the Raw Air rankings. These are unofficial, but I've got Robert Johansson in deficit to Kamil Stoch by 56 points, and that is a huge gain for Camel Stock. Robert Johansson started 23.5 points behind Camel Stock today, and the deficit has been doubled. And unless something extraordinary happens to Camel Stock, which of course we hope that's not going to happen, but at the moment, as I said, he's romping away with Raw Air 2018. And it's going to be a real joy to hear Camel Stock tell us what he's feeling at this moment in time, because he himself may not believe what's happening in this competition. And the Polish fans, it's party time. This is the best Lillehammer atmosphere for years, and I can promise you Trondheim will turn out for tomorrow's qualification and the big competition on Thursday. Worth having a look at these top efforts again. Robert Johansson, he's there or thereabouts. No hill records, but a terrific competition here in Lillehammer nonetheless. David Kubacki and Camel Stock, so good today. And I'm really pleased for David Kubacki, because he's had the rough edge of conditions on more occasions than most. Well, hopefully we could get to Camel Stock, but as you can imagine, everybody wants a piece of him down there, and it would be great if Horst Nilgen could get to him and just get him in front of a microphone to express his feelings. If we have to run away, hopefully we'll record it and perhaps bring it to tomorrow as part of our introduction sequence to tomorrow's qualification in Trondheim, because the boys will be on to Trondheim for qualification tomorrow, live on Eurosport, and then of course the big hill on Thursday before the journey to Vikersund for ski flying, the final leg of this Raw Air journey. Well, I don't think we're going to get to Camel Stock, so just a reminder that qualification happens at Trondheim, 17:30 Central European Time, an hour earlier for those of you with us across the United Kingdom. And before that, it's Nordic Combined number 2. Akito Watabe still leading the way with 5 competitions remaining in the Wiesmann Nordic Combined season. So that's it for now from Lillehammer. We're on our way to Trondheim, and we look forward to your company on the big hill there in the Granossen Stadium. For now, though, thanks for watching. Bye-bye from Norway.